Okay, you know the scene. We've all seen it in the movies, right? A T-Rex warring as it steps onto a modern street. It's an awesome thought, but what if it wasn't just a movie? What if we could actually bring these ancient giants back into our world right now? Yeah, it's a question that's really fun to imagine. But you know the reality? It would be so much more complicated, so much more dangerous than anything you've ever seen on screen. We'd be facing challenges that make a simple electric fence look like, I don't know, a garden gate. So, bringing a dinosaur back to life, it sounds like total science fiction, but the science behind it is very, very real. It's called de-extinction, and honestly, it's happening a lot faster than you might think. De-extinction is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like, bringing extinct species back from the dead. And scientists are trying a few different ways to do it, from cloning with preserved DNA to genetically editing a modern animal to give it ancient traits.
Right, so what about the most famous method, the one we all know from the movies, the mosquito trapped in amber? Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's pure fiction. See, DNA is incredibly fragile, and it breaks down over time. Dinosaur DNA is 66 million years old. To put that in perspective, that's 66 times older than any usable DNA we have ever found. So, yeah, that's a no-go.
So if the old DNA is out, what's the plan B? Well, scientists like the famous Dr. Jack Horner are trying something really cool called reverse engineering. They start with a chicken, which is, believe it or not, a direct descendant of dinosaurs, and they work backward. By tweaking the genes in a chicken embryo, they can literally switch on these ancient traits, basically building a dinosaur from the inside out. And get this isn't just a theory on a whiteboard somewhere. Scientists have already successfully reverse engineered a chicken's beak back into a dinosaur-like snout with teeth. They figure the whole project is over halfway done. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is science happening right now. So, okay, let's just say they do it. A living, breathing Tyrannosaurus rex is born into our world. How would this absolute apex predator, this so-called tyrant king, actually survive? The truth is, it would face a bunch of massive hurdles, and the very first one would be the planet itself. You have to remember, the world a T-Rex knew is completely gone. Its Earth was way warmer, wetter, and had oxygen levels around 30% compared to our 21% today. It literally breathed different air, lived in a different climate, and hunted in these dense, tropical forests, which is nothing like the open grasslands and crazy temperature swings we have now. And that right there, that's the heart of the problem. The T-Rex was a master of the ambush, right? It used this thick forest for cover. So what happens when you drop that same 10-ton hunter onto the wide-open African savanna? It would be completely, totally out of its element. With no cover, its huge size suddenly becomes a weakness, making it visible for miles. And modern prey? They're fast, they're agile, and they're built for running long distances. A T-Rex's short burst of speed just wouldn't cut it. Plus, it wouldn't be hunting one animal. It'd be facing entire herds that could spot it and scatter long before it even got close. Every failed hunt would be a massive waste of energy, pushing it closer and closer to starvation. But the challenges wouldn't stop with hunting, not even close. Let's say it somehow survived that first environmental filter. It would immediately run smack into the next one, the biological filter. Because in our world, the dangers are everywhere, from the animals it would try to eat to the invisible threats in the very air it breathes. And here's the crazy twist. Some modern prey wouldn't even run. Can you imagine? A herd of elephants or Cape buffalo? They'd charge to defend their young. Hippos? They'd attack anything that came into their territory. And what about the babies? A T-Rex hatchling was only about the size of a turkey, which would make it a super easy meal for any modern predator like a lion or a hyena. But honestly, the deadliest threats might be the ones it couldn't even see. Its immune system, built for a world 66 million years ago, would be completely helpless against modern bacteria, viruses, and parasites. A single mosquito bite could be fatal. A little scratch could turn into a deadly infection. Even the sun, without the constant cover of those dense forests, could cause a lethal heat stroke. And let's flip this around. What if a dinosaur did manage to survive all that? Well, for our ecosystems, it would be an absolute catastrophe. It would become the ultimate invasive species, tearing apart food chains, outcompeting native predators, and maybe even unleashing ancient diseases on a world that has zero defenses. It's hard to even wrap your head around the scale of this disruption. The largest sauropods weighed around 66 tons. That's the same as a fully loaded modern combine harvester. Now imagine an entire herd of those things, stomping around, compacting the soil, and eating vegetation on an industrial scale. The ecological chaos is just one part of this messy puzzle, and that brings us to the final and maybe the most complicated filter of all, us, the human one, because bringing back dinosaurs would create a legal and ethical nightmare. We don't have rules for this kind of thing. I mean, think about the most basic question. Would this new creature even be protected by law? The Endangered Species Act is designed to protect species that are in danger of extinction. But dinosaurs are, well, they're already extinct. So what do you do?
There's just no clear answer. You could argue it's an experimental population, which is a special category for reintroducing species, but that has its own set of legal hurdles. And what about that dino chicken? Is it legally a dinosaur, or is it just a modified chicken that gets no special protection at all? Our laws were simply never written for a scenario this wild.
And here's where it gets even weirder. If a company spends billions of dollars to create a living, breathing T-Rex, could they patent it? Could they literally own an entire species? You see, patent law makes this distinction between a product of nature and a product of human ingenuity. A cloned dinosaur might be seen as natural and therefore unpatentable, but a dino chicken created by editing genes, that could be seen as a human invention, and you could probably patent that. And that opens up a massive ethical can of worms about the very idea of owning life itself. So, after all this, the science, the ecological chaos, the legal mess, we're left with a pretty profound question. The ability to resurrect a dinosaur would be one of the greatest scientific achievements in human history, no doubt. But it also forces us to ask a really tough question, the one Dr. Malcolm asked all those years ago. Just because we can do something, does that mean we should? And can our wisdom ever truly keep up with our ambition?